Before a city earns admiration, it earns a story. Some cities become famous because of towering skyscrapers. Others are remembered for dazzling skylines, bustling industries, or spectacular beaches. Yet there are a handful of places that quietly capture the hearts of everyone who visits them. They do not shout for attention. They do not compete to become the biggest or the richest. Instead, they leave behind something far more valuable. They leave memories. In the heart of central Java lies one such city, a place where cool mountain air greets you every morning, a place where history stretches back more than 12 centuries, a place where ancient legends still echo through quiet streets, lined with colonial architecture, vibrant markets, peaceful neighborhoods, and welcoming smiles. This is Salatiga. Nestled between the bustling cities of Semarang and Surakarta, also known as Solo, Salatiga has long stood as a crossroads of cultures, traditions, and journeys. Travelers pass through its roads every day, many unaware that they are crossing one of Indonesia's oldest and most remarkable cities. At first glance, Salatiga appears modest. It does not overwhelm visitors with glittering skyscrapers or sprawling urban landscapes. Instead, it offers something increasingly rare in today's fast-moving world: peace. Its tree-lined streets, refreshing climate, breathtaking mountain views, and harmonious communities create an atmosphere that feels almost timeless. It is the kind of city where every sunrise carries a sense of hope, and every sunset reminds people to slow down and appreciate life's simple beauty. Yet beneath this peaceful surface lies a fascinating history that spans kingdoms, colonial empires, religious movements, cultural transformations, and generations of resilience. Every corner tells a story, every landmark preserves a memory, every tradition reflects centuries of wisdom. To truly understand Salatiga is to understand that greatness is not always measured by size or population. Sometimes, greatness is measured by character, and perhaps nowhere is that character more clearly reflected than in the legendary story behind the city's very name. Long before modern roads connected Java's great cities, before highways carried thousands of vehicles each day, and before Salatiga became known as one of Indonesia's most tolerant cities, this land became the setting for an extraordinary spiritual journey. The story begins during the spread of Islam across Java, a period when spiritual teachers traveled from village to village, not simply to preach religion, but to transform society through wisdom, compassion, and example. Among these remarkable figures was Sunan Kalijaga, one of the most respected members of the Wali Songo, the 9 saints whose influence helped shape Javanese Islamic culture. Unlike many religious leaders of his era, Sunan Kalijaga believed that genuine faith could not be forced. It had to grow naturally through understanding, humility, and love. One of his devoted followers was Ki Ageng Pandanaran, the regent of Semarang. Despite holding a position of authority and wealth, Ki Ageng Pandanaran eventually realized that worldly success alone could never satisfy the human soul. Inspired by Sunan Kalijaga's teachings, he decided to abandon the comforts of political power and embark on a spiritual pilgrimage. It was not an easy decision. Leaving behind status, possessions, and security demanded tremendous courage. Together with his wife, he began a journey that would forever become part of Javanese folklore. As they traveled across central Java, Sunan Kalijaga observed something that his followers could not yet see. Although Ki Ageng Pandanaran had renounced his worldly position, traces of attachment still lingered within his household. His wife, concerned about their uncertain future, secretly concealed precious gold and diamonds inside a walking stick. She believed these hidden treasures would protect them should hardship arise. From a practical perspective, her decision seemed understandable. most people would likely do the same. After all, who willingly walks into an uncertain future with nothing but faith? But Sunan Kalijaga understood that genuine spiritual transformation required complete trust. Material wealth, even when hidden, could become a burden that prevented true freedom. As the travelers continued their journey, they encountered robbers. According to the legend, Sunan Kalijaga directed the thieves toward the seemingly ordinary walking stick. The robbers seized it, broke it open, and discovered the hidden fortune concealed inside. In an instant, every piece of gold and every precious gemstone disappeared. Shock turned into despair. Fear gave way to regret. But what seemed like a terrible loss became the greatest lesson of all. Sunan Kalijaga explained that 3 fundamental mistakes had led to this moment. The first was greed, the inability to let go of material possessions. The second was arrogance, the belief that human plans and hidden wealth offered greater security than trust in God. The third was causing suffering to others through selfishness and attachment, placing personal comfort above broader moral responsibility. These 3 mistakes became deeply embedded in local tradition. Over time, many people came to believe that the name Salatiga originated from the phrase that symbolized these 3 moral failures. Whether every historical detail of the legend can be verified is less important than the timeless values it teaches. Across generations, the story has survived not because people were fascinated by stolen treasure. It survived because it reminds humanity that wealth alone cannot guarantee peace. Power alone cannot create happiness. Status alone cannot earn respect. Character does. Humility does. Compassion does. Perhaps that is why Salatiga eventually became known not for conquest or political dominance, but for kindness. Its identity was never built upon military victories or imperial ambitions. Instead, it was built upon values. Values that continue to shape the city more than 500 years after the legend first emerged. Walking through Salatiga today, it is easy to understand why these stories remain alive. The city possesses an atmosphere unlike many other urban centers. Life unfolds at a gentler pace. Morning markets buzz with familiar greetings rather than hurried transactions. Families gather beneath shady trees. Students from across Indonesia fill cafes with conversations about dreams, science, culture, and the future. Church bells, the call to prayer, and the sounds of daily life blend into a rhythm that feels remarkably harmonious. It is almost as though the lessons from the ancient legend continue to whisper through the streets. Do not measure life by what you own. Measure it by who you become. That philosophy may explain why visitors often leave Salatiga feeling refreshed in ways they never expected. The city's beauty is not limited to its landscapes. Its greatest beauty lies in its spirit. And that spirit has been carefully nurtured for more than 1,200 years. Because Salatiga is not simply an old city, it is one of the oldest continuously recognized cities in the entire Republic of Indonesia. Its story reaches back to an era when kingdoms ruled Java. Ancient inscriptions recorded royal decrees, and history itself was carved into stone. That remarkable chapter would shape Salatiga into one of the most historically significant places in Southeast Asia, proving that beneath its peaceful appearance lies a legacy far older than most people could ever imagine. More than 12 centuries ago, when much of the world was still defining the civilizations that would shape human history, the land we now know as Salatiga had already begun writing its own remarkable story. Long before Indonesia became an independent nation, long before European explorers reached Southeast Asia, long before steam engines, automobiles, and airplanes transformed the way people travelled, this quiet region in central Java had already earned a place in history. According to the official historical records of the city, Salatiga traces its origins to 24th July 750 AD, making it one of the oldest cities in Indonesia. That single date is far more than a ceremonial anniversary. It represents more than 12 centuries of continuous human civilization, cultural development, and historical transformation. Imagine that for a moment. When the first recorded chapter of Salatiga began, the magnificent cathedrals of medieval Europe had not yet risen to dominate their skylines. Many of the world's greatest universities had not been founded. Entire kingdoms that would later become powerful nations did not yet exist. Yet here, on the fertile slopes between towering volcanoes, a community was already thriving. Its story survives because of one extraordinary artifact, the Plumpungan inscription. Carved into stone and preserved through the centuries, this ancient inscription serves as one of the strongest pieces of evidence confirming Salatiga's remarkable antiquity. Unlike legends passed down through oral tradition, inscriptions provide historians with tangible connections to the past. Stone does not easily forget. Its words endure long after generations have come and gone. The Plumpungan inscription tells the story of a settlement once known as Hampra. This was not just another village scattered across ancient Java. It held a unique status. The ruling king granted Hampra the privilege of becoming a perdikan, a tax-exempt territory. Such an honor was never given lightly. Throughout ancient Javanese kingdoms, tax exemptions were typically reserved for communities that had demonstrated extraordinary loyalty, provided important services to the kingdom, or possessed deep spiritual significance. Receiving this recognition elevated Hampra into a respected and protected settlement. It reflected trust, it reflected gratitude, and it reflected the kingdom's belief that the people living here had made meaningful contributions to society. According to historical interpretation, the decree was issued during the reign of King Banu. His decision ensured that the people of Hampra could continue serving their community without the burden of royal taxation. This remarkable act reveals something fascinating about governance in ancient Java. Leadership was not simply about collecting wealth, it could also be about rewarding integrity and service. Even more astonishing is the fact that this ancient decision continues to shape modern identity. Every year, the people of Salatiga celebrate their city's birthday, not as a symbolic tradition created in modern times, but as a direct continuation of a documented historical event that occurred more than 12 centuries ago. Very few cities in Southeast Asia possess such a clearly documented origin. That alone makes Salatiga extraordinary, yet history here extends far beyond a single inscription. Over hundreds of years, Salatiga witnessed the rise and fall of powerful kingdoms. The influence of the Hindu-Buddhist era gradually blended with the arrival of Islam. Trade routes expanded, farmers cultivated fertile volcanic soil, artisans created works inspired by changing beliefs and cultures. Communities evolved without losing their deep connection to the land. Unlike cities that experienced explosive industrial growth, Salatiga matured gradually. Its identity developed layer by layer, generation after generation. Each era left its own fingerprints. the Majapahit period contributed to cultural traditions that still influence Javanese society today. The arrival of Islamic scholars introduced new spiritual perspectives while respecting many existing local customs. Later, during Dutch colonial rule, European architecture blended with traditional Javanese urban planning, creating the unique cityscape visitors continue to admire today. Rather than replacing one culture with another, Salatiga became a meeting point where civilizations interacted. This ability to absorb change without losing identity became one of the city's defining strengths. History here was never frozen, it remained alive. Walking through Salatiga today feels like turning the pages of an enormous history book. Colonial-era buildings stand beside modern cafes. Ancient traditions coexist with contemporary student life. Traditional markets operate only minutes away from universities equipped with modern technology. Every neighborhood reflects another chapter in the city's ongoing story. Perhaps this is why history feels unusually personal in Salatiga. It is not locked away inside museums, it breathes through everyday life. Local families pass down stories from grandparents to grandchildren. Traditional recipes continue to be prepared using techniques perfected over generations. Festivals celebrate customs whose origins reach back centuries. Even the names of streets, villages, and landmarks preserve fragments of forgotten eras. Many visitors arrive expecting only another pleasant stop in central Java. They leave realizing they have walked through one of Indonesia's oldest living communities. That realization changes the way people see the city. Age alone, however, does not create greatness. There are ancient cities around the world that have become crowded, polluted, or disconnected from their own heritage. Salatiga chose a different path. Instead of sacrificing its character for rapid expansion, it managed to preserve much of its natural beauty. That decision would eventually earn the city a title unlike any other. A title first given not by modern tourism campaigns, but by those who once ruled this region. During the Dutch colonial era, officials, travelers, and visitors repeatedly found themselves captivated by something they had not expected. Among all the cities of Central Java, one stood apart. Not because it was the largest, not because it was the wealthiest, but because it was, quite simply, the most beautiful. They called it De Schoonste Stad van Midden Java, the most beautiful city in Central Java. More than a century later, many who arrive in Salatiga still find themselves asking the very same question. What makes this quiet little city so unforgettable? The answer begins with geography. Some cities are fortunate enough to be built near rivers. Others thrive beside oceans or fertile plains. Salatiga was blessed with something even more extraordinary. It rests gracefully on the gentle slopes between some of Central Java's most magnificent volcanoes, surrounded by landscapes that seem almost too beautiful to be real. To the west rises the majestic silhouette of Mount Merbabu. Not far away stand Mount Merapi, Mount Telomoyo, Mount Andong, and Mount Ungaran, forming a spectacular natural panorama that changes throughout the day. At sunrise, golden light slowly spills across the mountain peaks. Soft mist drifts over rice fields and forests. As morning arrives, cool breezes sweep through the streets, carrying the fresh scent of pine, wet earth, and blooming flowers. Even in the middle of the day, the air feels noticeably cooler than many surrounding cities. As evening approaches, the mountains glow beneath shades of orange and crimson before disappearing into a peaceful night sky filled with stars. This remarkable setting has shaped Salatiga's identity for centuries. Long before modern climate science explained elevation and atmospheric conditions, People simply knew one thing: life felt different here. The cooler temperatures made the city comfortable throughout the year. The fertile volcanic soil supported agriculture. Natural springs provided fresh water. Rolling hills created breathtaking scenery around every corner. Nature was never something separate from daily life. It became part of the city's soul. When Dutch administrators arrived during the colonial period, they immediately recognized these unique qualities. Unlike the hot, humid conditions common across much of Java, Salatiga offered a refreshing escape. European officials, military officers, missionaries, educators, and businessmen often traveled here seeking relief from the tropical heat. Many chose to build elegant villas surrounded by gardens. Wide boulevards lined with towering trees appeared throughout the city. Public parks were carefully designed to complement the surrounding landscape. Colonial architecture blended surprisingly well with the natural environment. Instead of dominating nature, many buildings seemed to embrace it. Large windows welcomed mountain breezes. High ceilings helped maintain comfortable indoor temperatures. Shaded verandas overlooked gardens bursting with tropical plants. Even today, many of these historic buildings continue to define Salatiga's architectural charm. Walking through older neighborhoods feels like stepping into another era. Beautiful colonial homes stand beside traditional Javanese residences. Historic churches rise not far from ancient mosques. Tree-lined avenues invite leisurely walks rather than hurried commutes. Unlike many rapidly expanding cities where old architecture disappears beneath concrete towers, Salatiga has managed to preserve much of its historical character. This harmony between nature and architecture became one of the reasons Dutch visitors affectionately referred to Salatiga as de schoonste stad van Midden Java, the most beautiful city in central Java. It was not an official marketing slogan. It was an observation, an acknowledgement that this small city possessed a beauty difficult to describe with words alone. Even today, countless travelers experience that same feeling. Perhaps no modern landmark illustrates this better than the famous Salatiga toll gate. At first glance, it might seem unusual that a highway entrance could become a tourist attraction. Yet thousands of travelers intentionally stop here every year, not because of the toll gate itself, but because of what lies beyond it. On clear mornings, Mount Merbabu rises majestically in the background, creating one of the most iconic road views in Indonesia. The mountain appears so perfectly framed that countless photographs taken here have gone viral across social media. People often compare the scenery to Switzerland. The comparison is understandable. Rolling green landscapes, cool mountain air, wide open skies, neatly arranged farmland, elegant roads disappearing toward towering peaks. While every country possesses its own unique beauty, the view from Salatiga demonstrates that Indonesia's natural landscapes can stand proudly alongside some of the world's most celebrated destinations. Yet photographs only capture part of the experience. The true magic of Salatiga cannot be contained inside a camera frame. It is found in the feeling of standing there, hearing birds instead of constant traffic, watching clouds slowly drift across volcanic summits, feeling cool air brush against your face after hours of traveling through warmer regions. It is a reminder that beauty is not only something we see, it is something we feel. Nature also shapes the rhythm of life here. Morning markets begin early while the air remains crisp. Coffee shops fill with students, writers, and entrepreneurs enjoying conversations without the rush found in larger metropolitan areas. Families spend afternoons walking through parks rather than hiding indoors from oppressive heat. Cyclists and runners take advantage of comfortable temperatures throughout the day. The climate encourages people to live outdoors, to slow down, to connect. This slower rhythm has become increasingly valuable in an age dominated by speed. Around the world, millions of people search for places where life feels less stressful, places where mornings begin with birdsong instead of car horns, places where children still play outside, places where neighbours know one another, places where conversations matter more than notifications. Salatiga quietly offers all of these things. Perhaps that explains why so many visitors arrive expecting only a short stop before continuing towards Semarang, Solo or Yogyakarta. Then something unexpected happens. They extend their stay. One day becomes 2. A weekend becomes several days. Some eventually choose to build new lives here. There is something about Salatiga that gently persuades people to remain just a little longer. Maybe it is the mountains. Maybe it is the peaceful atmosphere. Maybe it is the city's remarkable balance between modern convenience and traditional warmth. Or perhaps it is something less tangible, a feeling that this place still remembers what many modern cities have forgotten, that progress does not have to come at the expense of humanity, that development does not require sacrificing nature, that success is measured not only by economic growth, but also by quality of life. These values have quietly transformed Salatiga into one of Indonesia's most admired small cities. But its greatest achievement is not its climate. It is not its scenery. It is not even its extraordinary history. The city's most remarkable accomplishment is something much more difficult to build: trust, respect, harmony. In a world where differences too often become reasons for conflict, Salatiga has become a living example of something many societies still struggle to achieve. A community where people from different religions, ethnic backgrounds, cultures, and traditions do not merely live side by side, they genuinely live together. And that extraordinary spirit of tolerance would eventually earn Salatiga recognition as one of the most harmonious cities in the entire nation, becoming an inspiration far beyond the borders of central Java. There are many cities that speak proudly about unity. Many governments promote diversity. Many communities celebrate tolerance during official ceremonies and national holidays. But true tolerance is never measured by slogans. It is measured by ordinary days. It is revealed in the small moments that rarely make headlines. It is seen in the neighbour who watches over another family's home during a religious holiday. It is felt when strangers choose kindness over suspicion. It is reflected in communities where people protect one another's freedom even when their beliefs are different. Salatiga has quietly become one of those rare places. Here, tolerance is not treated as an achievement to display. It has become a way of life. For decades, people from different religious backgrounds, ethnic communities, and cultural traditions have shared the same neighbourhoods, schools, universities, markets, and public spaces. Mosques, churches, temples, and other places of worship stand within the same city, serving different communities while contributing to the same peaceful society. The sounds that fill Salatiga each day tell their own story. The call to prayer echoes across the city. church bells ring on Sunday mornings. Religious celebrations brighten different seasons of the year. Rather than competing for attention, these traditions coexist naturally, reminding residents that diversity can enrich society instead of dividing it. This harmony has not gone unnoticed. Researchers, academics, journalists, and social organizations have frequently highlighted Salatiga as one of Indonesia's strongest examples of peaceful coexistence. Among the most recognized acknowledgements came from the Setara Institute, an independent organization that studies issues related to democracy, freedom of religion, and social inclusion. In one of its nationally recognized assessments, Salatiga was ranked among Indonesia's most tolerant cities, placing just behind Singkawang. For a city of relatively modest size, this recognition carried enormous significance. It demonstrated that influence is not determined by population. Sometimes the smallest cities teach the biggest lessons. Yet statistics alone cannot explain why Salatiga earned such respect. The real answer lies within its people. Stories of everyday cooperation appear again and again. During Christmas celebrations, Muslim residents often help manage traffic and ensure security around churches. When Eid arrives, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, and other community members extend greetings and support their Muslim neighbors as they celebrate with family. University students from dozens of different backgrounds share classrooms, dormitories, and lifelong friendships. Children grow up surrounded by classmates whose traditions may differ from their own, yet those differences become opportunities for learning rather than reasons for separation. One of the most inspiring examples involves students from Muhammadiyah institutions participating in Christmas choir performances. To outsiders unfamiliar with Indonesia's unique social fabric, such an image might seem surprising. Within Salatiga, however, it represents something beautifully ordinary. People understand that respecting another person's celebration does not diminish one's own faith. Instead, it strengthens the bonds that hold society together. Equally inspiring are the stories of Buddhist youth volunteers assisting with neighborhood security during Islamic celebrations. These acts are not organized for publicity. They are expressions of mutual respect. When communities genuinely care for one another, helping becomes instinctive. No one asks whether a neighbor belongs to a different religion before offering assistance during an emergency. No one measures compassion according to ethnicity. Kindness simply becomes part of everyday life. This culture of mutual respect has deep historical roots. For centuries, Salatiga has welcomed travelers, merchants, educators, missionaries, and migrants from across the Indonesian archipelago and beyond. Each new arrival brought different customs, languages, cuisines, and perspectives. Instead of resisting change, the city gradually learned to embrace it. Generations grew accustomed to diversity. It became normal rather than exceptional. As Indonesia itself emerged as one of the world's most culturally diverse nations, Salatiga already possessed centuries of experience living with differences. Perhaps this explains why visitors often notice something difficult to describe. There is an atmosphere of openness. People smile easily. Conversations begin naturally. Strangers are welcomed without unnecessary suspicion. The city feels approachable, comfortable, human. Of course, no community is perfect. Every society faces challenges. Differences of opinion still exist. Misunderstandings occasionally occur. But what distinguishes Salatiga is not the absence of problems. It is the consistent willingness to resolve them through dialogue, respect, and cooperation. This mindset has become increasingly valuable in the 21st century. Across the globe, societies continue searching for ways to strengthen social cohesion while respecting diversity. Governments debate policies, universities conduct research, international organizations organize conferences. Meanwhile, this modest city in central Java quietly demonstrates that harmony begins not with grand declarations, but with everyday choices, choosing to listen, choosing to understand, choosing to help, choosing to see another person's humanity before noticing their differences. Perhaps that is Salatiga's greatest lesson. Tolerance is not weakness. It requires courage. It demands patience. It asks people to reject fear in favor of trust. It invites communities to replace prejudice with curiosity. These values have transformed Salatiga into far more than a peaceful destination. The city has become a living classroom. Visitors leave with more than photographs of mountain scenery. They leave carrying a reminder that peaceful coexistence is not an impossible dream. It can become reality when enough people choose kindness every single day. Remarkably, this spirit extends beyond religion. It reaches into education, culture, language, and identity itself. Walk through the streets surrounding the city's universities, and you will hear conversations in dozens of regional accents. Taste foods inspired by distant islands. Meet students whose families come from opposite ends of the Indonesian archipelago. In many ways, Salatiga has become a miniature reflection of Indonesia itself, a place where thousands of young people from Aceh to Papua, from Sumatra to Maluku, from Kalimantan to Nusa Tenggara, arrive carrying different traditions, only to discover that diversity is not something to overcome, it is something to celebrate. That extraordinary cultural mosaic has earned Salatiga another remarkable nickname. Many now call it Indonesia in miniature, a title that perfectly captures the city's role as one of the nation's most vibrant meeting places for cultures, ideas, friendships, and the future of Indonesia itself. Few cities have the privilege of shaping the future of an entire nation. Even fewer do so without attracting constant international attention. Salatiga has quietly accomplished exactly that. Every year, thousands of young people leave behind their hometowns and travel hundreds, sometimes thousands of kilometers to begin a new chapter of their lives here. Some come from the bustling streets of Jakarta, others arrive from remote villages nestled deep within the mountains of Papua. Some grow up beside the beaches of Sumatra, others come from the forests of Kalimantan, the islands of Maluku, the highlands of Sulawesi, the savannas of East Nusa Tenggara, or the rice fields of Bali and Java. Many of them have never met someone from a completely different part of Indonesia. Until they arrive in Salatiga, suddenly classrooms become gathering places for dozens of cultures. Dormitories become homes where different languages, traditions, cuisines and perspectives coexist under one roof. A student from Aceh may share breakfast with a roommate from Papua. A young woman from North Sulawesi may collaborate on a university project with classmates from West Nusa Tenggara and South Kalimantan. Conversations that begin with simple introductions often grow into lifelong friendships. Barriers slowly disappear. Stereotypes begin to fade. Understanding takes their place. This remarkable transformation is one of Salatiga's greatest contributions to Indonesia. The city has become a place where unity is not taught only through textbooks, it is experienced every single day. At the heart of this cultural exchange stands one of Indonesia's most respected institutions of higher education, Satya Wacana Christian University, widely known as UKSW. For decades, the university has welcomed students from virtually every province of Indonesia. Its reputation for academic excellence, openness, and diversity has made it one of the country's most multicultural campuses. Walking through the university grounds feels like taking a journey across the Indonesian archipelago. One conversation might be conducted in Javanese, another in Batak. Nearby, students laugh together in Manadonese dialect. Elsewhere, someone speaks Papuan Malay, while another group practices Mandarin or English with international classmates. The campus reflects the incredible richness of Indonesia itself. Languages blend naturally, traditional clothing appears during cultural celebrations, regional music echoes across performance stages. Every student carries a different story, yet together they create a shared future. It is no surprise that many people affectionately describe Salatiga as Indonesia Mini, not because it imitates the nation, but because it embodies the nation's extraordinary diversity within a single, welcoming city. The impact extends far beyond the classroom. Students introduce one another to regional cuisines they have never tasted before. Someone from Java experiences authentic Papuan cooking for the first time. A student from Sumatra learns traditional dances from East Nusa Tenggara. Friendships inspire curiosity. Curiosity leads to understanding. Understanding strengthens unity. This simple process may seem ordinary. In reality, it is profoundly important. Indonesia is home to more than 17,000 islands, hundreds of ethnic groups, hundreds of regional languages, countless local traditions. Maintaining national unity across such immense diversity has always required more than political institutions. It requires human relationships. Salatiga helps build those relationships every year. Young people arrive as strangers. Many graduate as brothers and sisters in spirit. Some later become teachers. Others become doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, artists, scientists, military officers, public servants, community leaders. They eventually return to different parts of Indonesia, carrying not only university degrees, but also personal experiences that reshape how they see the nation. Instead of viewing diversity as something distant, they have lived it. They have shared meals together, celebrated holidays together, solved problems together, dreamed about the future together. Those memories remain long after graduation. Perhaps this explains why alumni often speak about Salatiga with remarkable affection. For many, the city represents more than a place of education. It represents personal transformation. It is where strangers became lifelong friends, where unfamiliar cultures became familiar, where differences stopped feeling intimidating and started feeling inspiring. The city celebrates this diversity through events that bring cultures together in spectacular fashion. One of the most vibrant examples is the Indonesian International Culture Festival. Each year, colourful parades fill the streets with traditional costumes from across the archipelago and beyond. Music from different regions blends into a joyful celebration. Traditional dances tell stories passed down through generations. Food stalls invite visitors to taste flavours from every corner of Indonesia. International students proudly share their own cultural heritage alongside Indonesian participants. For a few unforgettable days, Salatiga becomes a living exhibition of global friendship. Visitors witness something extraordinary. People do not erase their identities in order to belong. They proudly celebrate them. That celebration creates unity rather than division. Children watching the festival grow up understanding that diversity is something beautiful. Parents see their families interacting with traditions they may never have encountered otherwise. Tourists leave with a deeper appreciation for Indonesia's remarkable cultural richness. In many parts of the world, diversity is often discussed as a challenge. In Salatiga, it becomes an opportunity to learn, to grow, to listen, to appreciate, to discover that humanity is often far more similar than it first appears. This welcoming atmosphere has also contributed to the city's reputation as one of Indonesia's most comfortable places to live. Students who originally planned to stay only a few years frequently choose to build their futures here. Some establish businesses, Others marry and raise families. Many simply fall in love with the city's peaceful rhythm, its cooler climate, its friendly neighborhoods, its balance between modern life and timeless values. Salatiga has a quiet way of convincing people that happiness does not always require living in the biggest city. Sometimes happiness is found in a place where people still greet each other by name, where mountains remain visible from everyday streets, where communities still gather during local celebrations, where life feels connected rather than rushed. And no experience of Salatiga would be complete without exploring another cherished part of its identity. Not a monument, not a university, not a mountain, but a humble local delicacy that has delighted generations for more than a century. A small, crunchy sweet made with remarkable care. A simple treat that carries within it the story of migration, entrepreneurship, cultural exchange, and family tradition. Its name is Enting Gepuk, and despite its modest appearance, it has become one of the most beloved culinary symbols of Salatiga, proving once again that the greatest stories are often hidden inside the simplest things.